Good afternoon and welcome back to Bald Feather Bets. We're going to do a quick recap NFL Week 4 for you, just kind of let you know what our final thoughts are on the week. But first, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel, notifications on. We do post quickly shortly up until kickoff sometimes, and give this video some love. Like, share, comment. Let me know what your thoughts were on the end of. At the end of the week 4, we're a quarter of the way through the NFL season. Let me know what you're looking at as we move into the latter 3 quarters of the NFL season as well. Oh, and we are going to add 3-4 picks at the end of this video to what we have this current week. I think 1 college and 3 NFL, I think, yeah. So starting out with Thursday, Seahawks Cardinals. Honestly, my major takeaway is I'm high on both those teams, probably a little bit higher on the Seahawks. We'll start with the Cardinals. Big for Marvin Harrison Jr. to see the ball go into his hands and catch it. Touchdown, catch, big plays, a lot of that all coming in the fourth quarter. So we hope that that's a big breakthrough for him. They have to have him going. Wilson can't be the only wide receiver that they have going for that team to be successful. You need multiple, especially with the injuries that they currently now have to running back. Obviously, Connor is lost for the season, and now Trey Benson for several weeks. So they're going to be relying on the passing game, and then mainly running game with Kyler Murray scrambles. So it's important that that passing game remain intact and that they have deep threats. And they can do that with both Wilson and Harrison Jr. And then obviously McBride from the tight end spot. The Seahawks were even a little bit higher on. Love what they have on the defensive line. They really are showing out in any sort of situation they've been put in. And then Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of my favorite players. He's phenomenal on the offensive side. But then we're also really impressed with what we're seeing out of Sam Darnold. And not that Sam Darnold to me was an issue, but there was always the question of when he's not with Kevin O'Connell anymore, how's he going to perform? But quite honestly, you're seeing Daniel Jones perform well after having a stop with O'Connell, and so O'Connell may be the type of deal who can perform like a McVay Baker Mayfield thing, where Baker Mayfield spends a little bit of time with McVay, and the intangibles in terms of arm talent and all that stuff is always there. It was always there with Sam Darnold, but then spending time with the correct coach corrects some of the mental aspects in terms of the way that they're reading the game and seeing the game, and that may be in effect for Darnold now. We hope so, because that'd be a really cool story for him. Sunday morning, I'm not high on Pittsburgh, guys. Pittsburgh has won their last 2 games by 1 touchdown and by a field goal, and they have 7 turnovers in those games. Like, positive for them. They've forced 7 turnovers. They've gotten 7 turnovers. That's the recipe for at some point it all comes crashing down, because you're not having sustained success. And honestly, then one of their big touchdowns was on that big pass play to DK Metcalf, where you had a crossing route across the middle and then came open downfield, and then he was able to run for 80 yards for a touchdown. I'm not high on them. I'm actually higher on the Vikings than I am on them. I thought the Vikings let a few things get away from them defensively, like that, giving up that 80-yard touchdown, and obviously the turnovers were the main difference for them. Carson Wentz was up and down, as Carson Wentz tends to be. If he can minimize the oh shit plays, which I still think O'Connell can, I think the Vikings can be successful as they move forward. NFL regular day on Sunday, difficulties I thought across the board with a lot of the injuries that teams are facing. Evident with the 49ers, especially going up against the Jags. Just too much to overcome for them. A lot being put on Purdy right now, but I mean, it's difficult with who he has thrown the ball to. The 49ers being favored in that game, I think, was a stretch, just with how much they had on it from an injury standpoint. And then with the Patriots, I think what they did to Carolina is honestly more about themselves than Carolina. Whereas I think what the Texans did to the Titans was more about the Titans than it was about the Texans. I think the Patriots are a very good team, and I think you're going to continue to see them grow under Vrabel, who's been a successful head coach in the NFL. Never quite understand why the Titans got rid of him, but that doesn't really matter. Lions did what they needed to do against the Browns defense. That Browns defense still showed up pretty well, but the Browns just have no resemblance of an offense right now, and I think that's why you see them make the quarterback switch from Flacco to Gabriel. Will be interesting to see if that can give them a spark, because they do have a championship level defense. Lions offense is clicking in a way that is good, or in some ways even better than it was last season, and for the Browns defense actually to even be able to hold them in check the way they did, that's a testament to them, and it's going to serve them well as the year goes on. But they have to get some sort of spark on offense. So we'll see how Gabriel does over Flacco. I thought yes, Baltimore had lost Lamar during the game, more injuries. They had 6 defenders out by the end of the game, but even with all that, the Chiefs looked good to start that game early, even when Lamar was in there. If the Chiefs have that offensive game going, and remember, they're still getting Rashee Rice back, so that was with getting Xavier Worthy back. After Thornton has been shown that he can also be a player, they're going to get Rashee Rice back. That defense isn't a question. That's one of the best defenses in the NFL. If they have the offense kind of back to where it is, Chiefs are going to be a problem for anyone. Obviously, there's concern about the Ravens right now. In my opinion, it mainly has to do with defensive injuries. Some of those are season-ending now. That's coming out. It's tough sledding. I trust John Harbaugh to kind of start to get it going. We'll see. Lamar has a hamstring. Hamstrings can be nagging. You never know. So we'll see how long he's out for. It does not look like he's going to play this week against the Texans. We'll be, the thing is, the Ravens are still, I think, they're still the favorite in that division. You still have to lay money. It's still minus odds. And I think that's because you have no viable other option. Browns haven't shown you anything with their offense. Bengals we'll talk about that here in a minute, but I mean, without Burrow, they seem to be pretty dead. And like I said, we don't trust the Steelers, and I think the odds makers see that in the Steelers too. What they're doing isn't sustainable. I still don't love the Eagles. We were on the Eagles. We're glad they covered. But they remind me a lot more of the Eagles from 2 years ago than they do of the Eagles of last year, to where they're kind of doing things and getting by and winning games, covering even. The Eagles of 2 years ago were doing that. I think they started out 8-0, were like 6-2 ATS, all that stuff. But there's just something a little bit off and something a little bit missing. They lost a lot of players from last year's Super Bowl team, ones that don't seem to get mentioned that often, but they're very good. And I'm also still concerned about the Bills. 2 undefeated teams, 2 teams that are considered fantastic, but they're giving me concerns. Bills' ability to run the ball, Bills' rush defense. Saints had some actual sustainable things in that game, and the Saints are not the best team in the world, so we'll see. Chargers, significant concern about these offensive line injuries, and don't get me wrong, Giants are also very good defensive line, very good defense, but you saw that play into effect. The Chargers, with everything they've done, should be able to get a win against Jackson Dart in his first game, and they weren't able to. I think a lot of that had to do with the injuries on the offensive line and their inability to pass protect for Herbert and really get a sustained run game going. And yeah, I still love the Chiefs in that division. Absolutely love the Chiefs in that division, especially with Slater being done for the year and Alt is now out, and it sounds like it's a significant amount of time. Giants, everybody needs to pump the brakes on it again. A lot of that had to do with teams not really realizing how much they were going to use read option with with Dart, teams will adjust to that, and then also with their defensive line being able to go up against pretty much a backup offensive line. Sunday Night Football, I don't put too much stock into it. A lot of people are praising the Cowboys. They should, but the Cowboys were always going to show out in that game. They got a lot of bounces that went their way. Packers have a few issues. I think they'll be fine. They'll get them cleaned up. And I still think the Cowboys defense is atrocious. I think maybe you guys saw the stat. The Cowboys entering that game, teams that scored 40 points with 0 turnovers were 300-0. And after that game, they are 300-0-1. Because the Cowboys scored 40 points, they had 0 turnovers, but they still tied. And that has to do with how essentially that defense can be carved up. And they're very limited. They talked about it a little bit on the broadcast, but essentially the only thing they can do is run zone and then sometimes blitz out of zone. But they don't have the horses to be able to do man coverage. They don't have the horses to try and get to the quarterback with just 4. The only way that they can really do any pressure is they have to play a zone on the back end, and then they have to try and blitz. That's tough, and that will cause them issues moving forward. Monday was more impressed with the Jets than I was Miami. The stats show that. Still have a lot of concern for Miami. Obviously, I don't think the Jets are a good team, but still have a lot of concern for Miami. And then Denver, they body bagged the Bengals, but that Bengals team is, the way they have set their team up, they're going to have to part with some of these players and reset the team up in order to have some offensive line help. Because the team is set up to where unless Burrow's there, they don't have a prayer, and even when Burrow's there, he's at a high risk of getting injured because of the way they have it set up. They don't have a sustained run game, so pass rushers can tee off. They don't have an offensive line, so even in the pass game, he's not protected. You can't pay just all quarterback wide receivers and then one pass rusher. You're gonna have to make a change. And I'm very curious if they start that reset this year and put Trey Hendrickson out on the market. Very curious, because they didn't really come to any sort of contract agreement with him. They just agreed to give him a slight raise and put it off a year. So I'm curious if they unload. And I know there's a lot of teams that will want him. That's really it. So what are we adding? On college football on Saturday, we are adding Wisconsin plus 17.5. This is a math game. The over-under is 42.5, and one team is getting 17.5 points. So like a final score of 31-17 would be a total of 41, and then you would get a cover. It's very hard to reach that point, and you don't get it's very hard to stay around that total, and unless essentially Wisconsin scores no points, you get a cover. So this one's just math. So yeah, we're taking Wisconsin plus 17.5. We're doing that one for 2 units. In the NFL, we're taking the Raiders plus 7.5. We're doing that for 2 units as well. Don't hate what I've seen from the Raiders. Concern about Geno, obviously. But I do think you're going to get, they seem to have broken through with Genti a little bit this previous week, and I think you're going to continue to see that. Then we're adding the Commanders plus 3.5 for 3 units. I love that one. Like I said, Chargers, we're fading what they have on the offensive line in terms of injuries. And then on, I think it's Monday Night Football, we're taking the Jaguars plus 4 against the Chiefs for 3 units as well. Think that they have some things that they can sustain.